So this song is produced by Matt Wallace, who also produced Faith No More and the Deftones and Maroon 5 and a litany of other famous artists. Matt, I was lucky enough to get to help me when he heard my story about my parents and my children and my ex-wife and Texas and all these things. He found it really unbelievable. Matt was also an English major. He produced one of my favorite bands, Faith No More. Their album Angel Dust is one of my top 2 all-time favorite produced albums, and he did it on 2-inch tape. And the sound he got really influenced me and really changed my life as far as looking at music and how I hear it. The drummer on that album, Angel Dust, Mike Bordin from Faith No More, and bassists also play on this song. I was very lucky to get them. I got them because Matt told these people, including Josh Freese and the Foo Fighters and other local luminaries in the industry in Hollywood, about my story, and they're like, oh, we got to help this guy. And so I got some pretty famous people on my album, and I'm very lucky to have them. The Faith No More rhythm section plays on 2 songs. This is one of them. Check out the drums and the bass. So this song is about my parents and what they did to me and how it ties into the situation. And it's basically, I grew up in an abusive household, and my dad was an alcoholic. My mom was verbally and mentally abusive. My dad was physically abusive and verbally and mentally abusive, and I was an only child. The irony is now they're dying, and I'm the only one here to help or take care of them. But anyway, so this song is about them, and I left Texas and I came back to see that my dad was still abusing my mom, even though it was 40 years into the marriage. And there's no record of it because in the 80s there was no computers when it happened, when he went to jail for domestic violence and almost killing her. And she refused to press charges. So they changed the domestic violence law, at least in New Jersey, where now the prosecutors prosecute the cases regardless of whether the victim wants to proceed out of fear or not. And so that's what happened here. But my dad had been on probation for DUI at age 75. No less, on a 25-mile-an-hour road right in front of the police station. He rear-ended 3 cars. It was a really bad scene. I could describe it. He had 5 counts of vehicular assault that he was on probation for. I got a text message in Texas sitting next to my former spouse on the sofa at the house where my sons still live. And it said, "Come quick, your dad's in jail." And so eventually he got a lawyer and got a 3-year probation deal. In the meantime, I come back from Texas to New Jersey, and I see my mom's got bruises all over her arms, and it's because she's anemic, but also because my dad does this thing where he pokes. And so nothing had changed in this arranged marriage. And so that's the context of this song. And I basically told them that it wasn't right, that you can't do this. And if he violated probation, he would have gone to prison for 3 years and definitely died in prison because he couldn't even handle one night in jail. I read it in the police report. And so anyway, that's what they did. And they basically, to avoid him going to jail, they said that I was the abuser, and that's where the song begins. By blaming the abuse, and it's all written here on me, it really affected me in a lot of ways, including in Texas and my reputation and my name. And she basically chose this guy she had an arranged marriage with, who she never met till the day of the marriage. There was like a black and white photo exchange and like a resume sent overseas, and they just met on the day of the wedding. and they haven't slept in the same bed in 43 years, and it's basically like a business relationship. I don't know, but it was not a good household to grow up in. But she even lied. My mom did to her sisters and society, and so I basically took myself out of Indian society and dove into music. And all the people I've met in the last 10 or 15 years are through music, and most of them are not Indian. Even on my social media, there's very few family members, if any, and and I basically don't trust these people because my mom ruined my name, and this is the result. This song. So that line, walk off the plank as a martyr, walk into blue sea, it's a reference to when they were sending people, England was sending their prisoners to Australia, they'd have problems on the ship and they would make the people walk the plank, which meant just walk into the ocean. You know, that was their punishment. And so when I say walk off the plank, and the next line is walk away from your mother, it may sound like I'm talking to my son to walk away from his mother, but I wrote it about my mother, and it was about me walking away from my mother, and ironically I'm still here taking care of them, but metaphorically walking away and walking into blue sea because, you know, I would drown, and so I would choose that, you know, that over continuing to put up with the abuse, which is quite the statement if you read into it. But yeah, it's open to the audience interpretation, as any art is, and the lyrics kind of talk about that more here. Walk away from your mother, walk into blue sea. That's my dad. That's the last time I have a picture of him at one of my gigs. This was like a show I played in 2017 July in Gloucester City, New Jersey, so that was over 7 years ago. But at least he would come. He showed contrition, and after all this happened, and I know he knew he felt guilty and was sorry that I basically took the bullet for him reputationally, and it affected a lot of things which I won't get into, but he was sorry. My mom not so much. So this song is about my parents, and I talk about this metaphor where the people are on the boat and walking off the plank. So there's like a judge and a jury and a trial on the boat, that, like they would have during those times, or an executioner, and so that's what this is about. Like the prisoner being sent away, and or maybe he becomes a prisoner on the boat, depending on your interpretation, and then he doesn't even make it to Australia to be imprisoned there by the British in the penal colony. He just swims with the fishes somewhere in the Pacific or the Atlantic. So that's my son Sohan, my elder son. But this line about my mother is she often says, even now to this day, that I'm not her family. Don't talk about my sisters. Don't talk about my family. I'm like, well, I didn't choose to be here, and you had an arranged marriage, and then now I've sacrificed everything for you guys, and here I am taking care of you, and nothing has changed. And if anyone deserved to be hospitalized for depression or some mental issues, it was definitely my mom. And my dad, maybe less so, but yeah. So there's this thing in Indian society, at least here in South Jersey, about reputations and who went to the best college and who got the biggest house and who has the best paying job and who has the prettiest wife and all these bullshit things. And reputations apparently mean a lot for these people who come off the boat and try to establish themselves here. I was born here, so I'm first generation American, but all of our parents were, they were born in India, and so they're doing everything to try to assimilate and fit into society. And even my mom's sisters are all still worried about reputation instead of the truth or science or even my dad's health. But they'd rather, hide everything and sweep it under the rug. That's a picture of me from 7th grade with my parents. I guess I was 11. But yeah, the drums are really. I really have to thank Mike Bordin. He's very powerful. If you know Faith No More's music or drumming, you can tell it's his signature sound when you hear it. He has this flam technique. This, like, you hit both sticks just slightly off, so it's like a double or like an echo. He hits really hard. He also has his toms really high up and flat, which drummers know. It's when you hit the drums, you're probably going to strike the rim if you do that, because it's, so it's a different sound when you strike the metal rim as well as the head. I guess it's a rim shot technically, but then by doing that, he also has these big clubs of sticks. They look like baseball bats. So he's hitting really hard, and he never wears a shirt when he's playing. He's sweating and drenched in water, and his drum tech comes from behind him and pours water on his head while he's playing entire bottles. He drinks a lot of water. Yeah. So Mike Bordin, I want to thank you. Also one of the sweetest guys ever. I met him after the Faith No More show in Philadelphia in 2015 at the Electric Factory, and he saw I had a San Francisco hat and I think Warriors basketball shirt on. And he saw me from as soon as he walked out the door, and he made a beeline to me, ignored all the people waiting to talk to them by the bus, and then talked to me for like 20 minutes, which is more than he talked to the rest of the people combined, because I knew my stuff about Faith No More and specific shows and live versions. And also I knew a lot about Bay Area sports because I had lived and worked in San Francisco, where the band is from. So we bonded over that. I have a picture of it, I think at the end of this video, of him hugging me, and he gave me this bear hug on his own, two-handed. Sweetest guy ever. Great drummer, but an even better human being. I also talked to Billy Gould that night, who plays bass on this song, the Faith No More bass player. He also has signature sound, really, with his attack. I'm thankful to Billy and Mike for helping me out. I also talked to John Hudson, who's the guitar player in the band that night. Mike Patton and Roddy Bottom escaped out the front door to the hotel, I think. It was the last night of the U.S. first leg, so I think they wanted to get away. But, yeah, I'm thankful to those guys and Matt Wallace for helping me. Also Maor Appelbaum, who produced, actually not produced, master engineered Faith No More, mastered my album. And like I said, Josh Freese from the Foo Fighters played drums on 10 songs, aside from this one. Walk away from your mother, walk into blue sea. So this first solo is by Michael Ward. He has since passed away, unfortunately, but he was in the Wallflowers and some other big touring acts. He opened for the Rolling Stones. He had all these stories. Really nice guy. Unfortunately, he had some health issues. he left two sons behind, and I had a feeling it was going to happen, just knowing his health and the way things were going. Unfortunately, he was diabetic, and there was other issues going on that he wasn't really taking care of himself as well as he should have. But he played all the rhythm guitars on this album, some of the solos, and this is one of the solos. Logan Maggio does a second solo later. He's a musician from Nashville. A really good solo too. Do you hear that snare popping? That I love that sound. As a little bit of a drummer myself, I started on drums at like age 3. I'm self-taught on every musical instrument I play, but the things that matter to me most about drums, as far as tone, are the hi-hat being really crisp, the snare drum tone, floor tom tone, ride cymbal tone, and kick drum tone. All the other things I don't even really need, like the rack toms and the crash cymbal and all the bells and whistles. I mean, you could keep it simple with just like 5 different pieces, including all the brass and hardware, and that's all you need. It's about the groove and the rhythm. It's not about being busy, unless the song calls for it, which it rarely does. Matt Wallace actually talked to Mike Bordin, the drummer from Faith No More, about these songs that they played on for me, and he said I sounded like Killing Joke, which is interesting because a lot of my friends know Killing Joke, and I'm not really familiar with them except for the fact that they wrote that one Nirvana song, sorry, that Come As You Are. It's really a Killing Joke song if you look at the chronology. But he said I sounded like that, or even early Faith No More, which Matt also said, which is interesting. And then a fan of theirs who's a friend of mine, Brandon, he said that I sort of sounded like Killing Joke or early Faith No More as well. So I took it as a compliment, that Mike even had anything to say, being such an accomplished musician, playing in Black Sabbath and Ozzy and Korn filling in and all these bands, Faith No More, throughout the years. He was actually best friends with the Metallica bass player, the original Cliff Burton, and they started playing music together. And unfortunately, Cliff died in the 80s in a tragic bus accident while Metallica was on tour in Europe. But Mike remains, and he's a great human being, and a father and an amazing musician, and I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful to Larry Rivera and Jamie Pelaez and Official Music Syndicate for doing all the video editing and all the production work as far as that goes. This was me playing in South Jersey, I think 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. So there's ramifications that spread out from my parents and what they did to me, and it affected everything in Texas. It affected my finances. It affected my will to even be an attorney anymore, so I quit because I felt like the law screwed me in my custody case. And so I never wanted to do law anyway. I just wanted to be a residential architect or a basketball player or a musician. So it's too late to go to school 5 years full-time now to be an architect. So the only thing left is music, so that's all I've really done for 10 years. My last job officially were in 2014. I worked at 3 restaurants as a cook. But other than that, the music has been my only income for the last 10 years, so it hasn't been easy. And I don't know, it feels like a whole nother lifetime, like Texas and being a lawyer. That feels like ages ago, or like it was someone else. His solo is pretty cool. There's Billy Gould from Faith No More. Really solid musician. There's Mike Bordin, Mike Patton from Faith No More. Mike Bordin being the drummer right there with the dreadlocks. Sweetest human being ever. There's me, waiting to go on stage. That's me and my former spouse at our wedding 20 years ago this November. And I want to put this information out there just so my sons know some of the backstory about what happened to me and what was going on at the same time that things were devolving in Texas after I left. And so those 2 years right after I left Texas, from basically July to 2011 to July 2013 approximately, during that time a lot of things happened in Texas that went adverse to my ability to make anything happen really in my life. And so I've been using live music, performance, even though I started basically at 40, as my therapy and soul catharsis from the custody case in Texas. Matt Wallace did an amazing job with production and mixing. This may have been the last full album that he did. Now he does a lot of Dolby Atmos 3D mixing in Los Angeles at the studio where we recorded. Also where Faith No More, their last album was mixed at Matt's Studio Deluxe. And he's got an amazing ear. He's brilliant. He's an English major. I believe he went to Berkeley. Mike Patton from Faith No More, also an English major. I was an English major before law school. So I guess I'm drawn to the people. Ironically, I don't care about words because words are meaningless. I'd rather listen to the music. And my entry into music, and whenever I listen to a song, is does the rhythm guitar grab me? So I'm sort of coming in the side door, as it were, as opposed to the front door, which is most people with the lyrics and the vocals. But and sometimes I don't even get to the lyrics or the vocals, which is ironic as an English major and an attorney that I don't care about the words. I feel like every song should stand on its own as an instrumental track, and if it does, then it's solid. And I feel like lyrics and vocals should be the icing on the cake and the cherry on top. That's why I like soundtrack music a lot, and classical music and instrumentals. So Billy Gould and Mike Bordin play on another song called Double Take, Bringing Bread to Feed. I might do a video about that too. That's also about my father, but a different side of the story, about him coming from India to America and the whole process of, making it here and establishing a life. And it's also about me and then my sons. But I'm thankful to Billy Gould and Mike Bordin from Faith No More for helping me on this. Matt Wallace, as always. It's like the big brother I never had. And Maor Appelbaum did a great job with the mastering. And that was me as a baby with my parents. Sohan looks just like me in the old pictures, like my dad. He can't tell pictures of me and Sohan apart at parallel ages. It's like my doppelganger. Also, you can see the shape of the eyes and the eyelashes and eyebrows and the nose. They definitely got that from my mom. If you see that, Sohan looks like her, especially, which is like her dad. Sohan got his singing from me, and Sohan and Ishaan, well, Sohan got track and soccer from my dad because he was a swimming, soccer, and track star in India. And Ishaan got swimming from my dad and basketball from me. So. So, anyway, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate your support. I liked this song a lot, and the video the official music syndicate did for me. There's me and Mike Bordin from Faith No More, the drummer, who played on this song and on Double Take, Sweetest Guy Ever. And that was May 15th, 2015 in Philadelphia, the Soul Invictus Tour, first American leg, and the last show of that leg. And they were about to get on the bus, and yes, really sweet guy, and I'm just lucky to have known him and have him play on my album. I'm honored that these great musicians helped me and took the time to help me reach my sons with the story and the truth. And here's the credits. Josh Freese didn't play on this song, but he plays on 10 songs, and he's amazing. He's just like a machine and a clock, and hits really hard too, just like Mike. Maor Appelbaum, the mastering engineer, did say that what stood out to him the most about the album when I asked him was the drums, and I would have to agree. The drums are the strongest part, and I always say, the vocals are probably the weakest part for sure, and then after that the lyrics, but the drummers were really good. Thanks for listening.